What's up, everybody? Welcome back to a new video. If you're new around here, please make sure to like and subscribe down below. So, it's the start of the month, and usually I will start with the presidential prediction, but we are flipping it around. We're going to get started, and we're going to start with the House prediction, which I did not do one for April, because, well, there was really no reason to, because we didn't have a lot of polling out. But, as of right now, we're going to create what I think is going to happen. So, let's get right into it. Alaska at large, Mary Peltola is going to hold on. I don't know if it's going to be by the same margin, but the only issue is in Alaska they use the ridiculous ranked choice voting, which that's going to get Mary Peltola over the finish line, unfortunately, but Donald Trump is likely to win the state by about 10, like usual. So before we can really focus on flipping that seat, we need to repeal the ranked choice voting, which that will be on the ballot in November, and then we can go ahead and try to win that seat again. Alabama second, that's going to go Democrat by a pretty good margin. It's this heavily gerrymandered district down here in Alabama. That's going to flip, unfortunately. So pretty much every southern flip, whether it's Alabama, Louisiana, or some of the other southern states, is essentially going to be a flip for the Democrats. And if Republicans win the Senate, it'll be through the North. And if Democrats win the House, it'll be through the South. So, next up, David Schweikert. He's going to hold on. I'm pretty sure. He's been holding on for, like, the skin of his teeth every time. He might go down, but at the end of the day, I just don't think it's going to happen at the end of the day. He's well-liked there in Arizona's first. Now, in Arizona's sixth, Cisco-Manni's likely to hold on as well. Biden only won it by 0.1, and Cisco-Manni outperformed him on the ticket when it's going to be a Biden-Trump rematch. I expect Trump to win the state at the end of the day, but will he outperform Trump? That's going to be a question we'll have to figure out when and if that comes. Next up, California 13th, John Duarte. He might go down, but at the end of the day, it's really hard to say which way that's going to go. It's his first term, and it was kind of a mediocre wave. As of right now, I'll say that I could see a scenario where Duarte goes down and Valadeo holds, because Duarte won by a lot less than Valadeo, and Valadeo has been able to somehow hold on consistently over the couple of terms he's been there. But this is just Duarte's first term, and we don't really know what he's going to do until the time comes. California's 27th, Mike Garcia. He's going to hold on, probably by a lean margin. Or if so, let's add the tilt margin. I think that's respectable to do. Katie Porter, we're not going to flip this seat. I would like to see the seat flip, but unfortunately, even though Katie Porter is retiring and the same candidate almost took her out in 2022, I really don't think that it's going to happen at this time. It is possible, but I don't think it will. Lauren Boebert's seat, this is an interesting one. She is leaving Colorado's 3rd and moving to Colorado's 4th, which opens it up for it to hold. If Boebert was the nominee, I don't think she would have held the 3rd district just because of some other weird stuff with Boebert that's been going on lately. But at the end of the day, she should, in my honest opinion, have no problem winning a Trump plus 20 seat with Trump on the ballot. So that being said, I'm going to keep this seat lean Republican. We're just going to get a generic Republican in there. It's not going to be like a Trump-style Republican. It's just going to be a generic R, and they'll probably win it by a decent amount. Caraveo, however, I think she's going to hold by a tilt margin. It is possible that she goes down. We don't know who the Republicans are going to put up yet. Caraveo's running for a second term, and Republicans at the end of the day we don't know who they're going to put up just yet. Jonna Hayes, that could be a flip, but at the end of the day, I don't think that's going to happen. It could by a very, very slim margin because she only won by 0.8, and she's always been a ridiculous underperformer in the cycles that she's been there. She's been there for 3 terms. If I pull up her voting record or the elections from 2018 and 2020, which I'm going to do here in a minute. But anyways, it seems like that when presidential candidates are not on the ballot, Hayes tends to do a lot worse than when they are on the ballot, and she'll probably get carried. But at the end of the day, if she's a weak incumbent and they can't carry her, that will in fact probably be a flip for the Republicans. We've had no polls out of that district, So it's really hard to really say. I looked at the results, and in 2020, she won by like 10, and in 2018, she won by a little less than 10. So it's really hard to say what's going to happen. Now, Georgia 6th, I don't know why they renamed or renumbered the districts when they redid everything, but they did. So GA 6 and 7 are basically flips for each party. So Rich McCormick's going to hold. We'll just do it here because why not? Rich McCormick's going to hold, and Lucy Macbeth is going to hold. Those are the same. I'm just grading them based on the districts they're in, not necessarily based on the district lean, but at the end of the day, that's essentially that. Zach Nunn, this guy. I'd like to have a day where we can get rid of Zach Nunn and replace him with a true conservative, because he's been voting a lot for a lot of Uniparty legislation. Same goes for people like Miller Meeks. Zach Nunn isn't the worst at the end of the day. He'll probably win. It depends on how much Trump wins the district by. If he wins it by a large amount, he'll probably win by a lean, or he could win by a tilt. We'll put it at a tilt for now, just to be safe. But at the end of the day, I think Nunn will win. It's going to be close. We'll have to wait and see, though. Eric Sorsen, he's going to hold on. Strong incumbent. There's really nothing to talk about there. Plus, Biden's going to almost win that district by 8. So he's really not going to underperform at all. And he only underperformed because of, I think, Bailey's strength in Illinois 17th. Frank Mervyn, he's going to hold on for sure. I don't really see why. I think it's going to be likely that he holds on to, not by a lean, because Joe Biden's going to probably win the district by close to 10. And Frank Mervyn will probably get carried and receive the same margin as Mervyn. But anyway, Louisiana 6, Garrett Graves, he's going to go down, unfortunately. It's not really, he's not the worst congressman, but he's also not my favorite either. There are many things I like about him, but there are also a lot of stuff I don't like about him. Not really much to say. Jared Golden, he could go down. They're running a much better candidate this time around than they did in 2022. They're running a NASCAR driver. But again, it all depends on how the ranked choice results come out. But if everything goes right, you will see Jared Golden lose, especially with the gun comments he's made back in 2023 September. It is possible he goes down. He probably will go down at the end of the day, considering Trump will probably carry him, or the NASCAR driver, across the finish line. Alyssa Slotkin, this seat. I think that this seat's gonna stay in Democrat hands for now. We'll have to wait and see. Again, another district with little to no polling out of, so we really can't defy that. And we're working off of a tied popular vote at the end of the day. So Alyssa Slotkin, that district is gonna stay in Democrat hands. We don't know who the Republicans are gonna put up there yet either. Kildee, he's also going to hold, or pretty easily. He's not running for re-election, but that district is likely going to hold, even if Trump does really well. I don't see how that district flips. Now, John James, he'll win easily, probably by a tilt margin, not a lean. I don't know what they're thinking at the end of the day on here. Minnesota 2nd, Craig is going to win easily. She's going to win easily. She's strong. She'll probably outperform Biden and Trump at the end of the day, depending on whoever wins that district. The only way I see her go down is if Trump wins the district by a massive margin, which I don't think he will. Ryan Zinke, he'll hold probably easily. This is a Trump plus 7 district. He'll win easily, probably by like 3 or 4 or 5 or even more. But at the end of the day, he's probably going to go by a tilt, probably by a lean, not by a likely, which is what that went to by presidential race. Next up, we have North Carolina's 1st district. If Sandy Smith was the nominee, I could see Don Davis go down. But Lori Buckholt, I have mixed opinions on her, and I really don't have much to say when it comes to this district at the end of the day. I think that Democrats are gonna hold this district by a tilt margin. But in the court-drawn gerrymander for the 1st district in 2022, Sandy Smith almost took out Don Davis. And the district went to Budd. The new, more favorable 1st district went to Ted Budd by around 4.5 points. So it is possible that they win that seat. It is possible that we win the seat. But at the end of the day, we're going to have to see what happens. It's a red trending toss-up district. That's the only one of the new North Carolina districts that we really don't have much to say about just yet. The rest of the North Carolina districts are all going Republican by safe margins. They're all Trump plus 20 seats or more, or 15 or more. So we're just gonna put all those to safe. Anyway, Nebraska second. Don Bacon, he very well could go down in a primary. That's a whole video worthy on its own, and we'll discuss that probably in a different video. But for now, I think if he's the nominee, he's going to hold on by a tilt margin. If Dan Fry is the nominee, he probably would win, probably by a little bit more. It all comes down to how that district flips at the end of the day. But I do think that Republicans could win this district, or they could lose it. This is really a district that could go either way, but it's also not a district that will determine control of the House. Tom Keene, New Jersey 7th, he's probably going to hold. His last name, I think, appeals to a lot of people down there. He is kind of a weak incumbent, though. So if Joe Biden wins the district by a ridiculous amount, he probably would lose. But we'd have to wait and see. I really can't make a affirmative answer on that just yet. Anyway, New Mexico 2nd. Harrell is a strong candidate. But at the end of the day, I don't think that Vasquez is going to lose at this point. He's an incumbent now, and Joe Biden's probably going to win the district and carry him over the finish line at the end of the day. We'll have to wait and see, but I really don't know what's going to happen. Anthony D'Esposito, he could win, but honestly, with the way they redistricted the district, it's now Biden plus 15 almost. It is possible because he took out the incumbent in a different type of environment similar to this, but it's also possible that it flips. This is one of the districts that I could say either way. I think he would hold on because he's name recognition, incumbency advantage, and all that other stuff. Now, Michael Lawler, I could care less if this guy goes down or not. He's kind of a rhino anyway. I don't really want him in the House unless because he pretty much just votes for all the Uniparty agenda. He's the one that led the charge to kick out George Santos and ended up and put us in with Thomas Suozzi, who is horrendous. Well, he's not the worst, but you get where I'm coming from. I do think that he could win, but honestly, I think he's going to go down. I could see a scenario where D'Esposito goes down and Lawler wins, or vice versa, but at the end of the day, I really don't know what to say. Mark Molinaro, this is both Mark Molinaro or Brandon Williams probably have the best chance at holding their seats. I think Mark Molinaro will hold on by a tilt margin because he's now an incumbent, and he's also kind of moderate to appeal to the Democrat voter base, and it's also not as Democrat as like New York 17th and New York's 4th. It's only Democrat by 4 points, and Lee Zeldin helped carry him to victory, and now he's an incumbent, so we'll have to wait and see what happens, but that's another district that could go either way. Ohio's 9th district, I do think that one could flip at the end of the day. It would be an uphill climb because Marin's going to be the nominee. You're not going to have J.R. Majewski, who, in my opinion, would have been a great congressman, but he was just awful in terms of campaigning, partially why he lost. It is possible we flip that seat, but at the end of the day, it's going to be an uphill climb, because in Ohio, the top of the ticket does really well for the Republicans. Then as you go down the ballot, it just does worse and worse. We'd have to see how Moreno, along with Trump, do in the district. And at the end of the day, if Trump wins the district, I could see Captur go down. And if Moreno wins the district, same thing. But at the end of the day, we're going to have to wait and see what happens. But for now, because we're looking good in Ohio with Trump winning the state, that district will probably go Republican by like a point or so. Probably not by a lot, but it could be like a point Republican. Again, we don't have any polls out of the district, so it's also hard to tell. Ohio's 13th district. This is another one. Republicans could win it, but honestly, now that Amelia Sykes is an incumbent and Trump did not win the district, she will probably hold on over Kevin Coughlin, probably by a tilt margin, depending on what Joe Biden does in the district. If Trump somehow manages to win the district, I think that she could go down, because he'll get out like the white working class voter base that votes for him, and they would usually vote Republican the rest of the way. We'd have to also wait and see, because just like the 9th district, if Republicans win, it's going to be solely because Donald Trump carried them over the finish line. Chavez DeRemer, she's probably going to hold, honestly. She's an incumbent at this point. She's strong for the most part. She won by 2, probably because Drazen or Perkins, one of the two, carried her over the finish line, because Drazen almost flipped the governorship. it was kind of disappointing to see Republicans not win that because they came so close in like 50 years to flipping that thing, similar to what happened in New York. At the end of the day, she could hold, but we're going to have to wait and see. I don't know what's going to happen there. Susan Wild, she'll probably hold, honestly. If Trump wins the district, maybe she'll go down, but she's kind of strong at the end of the day. She only outperformed Biden by like 1.4 points, but we're going to have to wait and see. If Trump wins the district, she will go down. Pennsylvania 8th. This is another one. Matt Cartwright, considering Trump won the district by about 3 points, and Cartwright outperformed him by 5.4 points. It is possible that we flip this seat, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's likely. I think Democrats are going to hold that by a lean margin. Next up, we have Mary Perez, or whatever her full name is. Jen Kiggins is going to hold. I think that's pretty much a set in stone at this point. Mary Perez, she's going to be going up likely against Joe Kent again in a rematch. Donald Trump has endorsed Joe Kent, I think. If he hasn't, he'll probably do so very soon. But in 2022, partially why Kent lost, he went in with a divided party. Kevin McCarthy and all those other rhinos were all backing his opponent, the incumbent, while Trump went in and endorsed Joe Kent. Joe Kent, this time around, is going in with a united party. The party is pretty much united behind Joe Kent, and that's always a positive. If that continues and the rhinos don't split off and go for another candidate that's a rhino, then Perez could go down. I really do think Perez can lose if the party is united. But at the end of the day, if the party is not united, I don't think that she will win. But if the party is not united, I think she'll lose. I think she'll win. But if the party is united, she'll go down. It's really simple. It really is that simple because it's a Trump +4 district. It keeps going blue. It's getting bluer, but I don't think it's like overly blue to the point she can't win. So anyway, there's my final map. I'll probably do a video based on the polls. If you want to see a polls prediction, which this map would probably look totally different compared to this, let me know down in the comments, and I will make that video as soon as possible. But anyways, with that being said, thanks for watching, and enjoy the rest of the day.